But as Eddie said, my name is Michael Stern. I'm here in Arizona in the US. I am one of the co-founders of iHub Global, and I want to welcome you to what I believe is the most extraordinary opportunity I've seen in my 40 plus years that I've been involved as an entrepreneur and involved in several different operations out there. And frankly, this eclipses everything that I've ever seen prior to that. So if you're looking at this for the first time, you're in the right place at the right time. And I believe you've got a very, very bright future ahead of you as a result of iHub Global. So let me kind of put this in perspective. It's been a year since I first came upon the basis of what we put iHub together for. I was talking with a colleague and he dropped a question along the lines of asking if I was interested in owning a piece of the world's wireless network and the world's largest wireless network. And I was intrigued slightly. You know, I was very busy at the time, wasn't looking for another project to take on, but it caught my attention. And I started looking into it and realized that it had to do with something called the Internet of Things, also known as IoT. Now, I had heard the term, I'd even seen maybe a TED talk or two, a little bit about it, but I still didn't quite grasp the enormous size of what was going on in that space. I knew that different kinds of technology could output information that would be useful in making some process or an application more convenient, more cost-effective, more efficient. But that was really the long and short of it. It was really some sort of vague idea. And it wasn't until I talked with this one guy who said, when I asked him if he understood what the Internet of Things was all about, he said, oh yeah, that he owned his own vending machine company and every single one of his vending machines were connected to the internet, and they all placed their own orders to restock the supplies of the vending machine. And he explained how much time and money that saved the company, because the person that physically would carry that inventory to restock, or the group of people, they just had to look at their iPads and they would know precisely what to take to each vending machine. And I thought, well, that really is a very practical example of a way that this IoT space can be used to make things better. And as I started investigating it, I realized that that one example was multiplied by tens of thousands of times, or more than that, with a huge different kinds of ways that these things can be used for different applications, whether you're having a device that alerts somebody if there's a water leak, or if the temperature goes out of a particular range, or asset trackers, all kinds of different things about that. And as I started researching the space, I was pretty shocked to realize that it was already an $800 billion a year marketplace with 8.4 billion devices connected to the internet, more than people, devices, for example, like that individual's vending machines. And it's projected over the next 4 years to exceed $2.4 trillion with some 70 to 80 billion devices connected. And I thought all that was interesting, but it wasn't necessarily enough for me to say, hey, I want to take on a project. It just kept me evolving and looking more in the information. But what really caught my attention was looking at this company based in San Francisco, a company called Helium, that's actually the company building this world's largest wireless network, and they want to build it together with us. That's what's so extraordinary about this. So who is this company, Helium? Well, they basically got their start in 2013, a group of very sophisticated entrepreneurs, people that are in the entrepreneurial space, the engineering space. They took a very deep dive of what was going on in this world of the Internet of Things. And they saw a couple of important points. One is you have to understand that it's one thing to have the greatest piece of information that can do extraordinary benefits, but unless that information can get to the internet and be accessible to make an application or a process more effective, it doesn't really have any great benefit. And so they saw that the greatest need in this space was creating a method that IoT devices all over the world could easily use to get their data to the internet. That they saw that the people that were currently doing IoT projects were having to build their own internal infrastructure and recreate the wheel for each individual project. And that other people were starting to migrate to using cell phone companies with their very expensive data plans and systems that were not necessarily that easy to onboard for other types of IoT devices. So they came up with this idea about building a worldwide structure, a peer-to-peer network to allow IoT devices to get their data to the internet. They saw that the protocol that had merged to the top of the space in the world of IoT manufacturing was a protocol called LoRa radio, also known as LongFi. LoRa just stands for long range, but LongFi is like Wi-Fi, but it has a range about 200 times farther than that. And it uses a radio frequency a little bit higher than FM radio in that biologically safe range. And their strategy, which was so remarkable, was they wanted to do this as a group collectively together. That's why we talk about building it together, rather than them being like, the big tech companies out there where they do it all themselves and they centralize all the monetization of it. These guys come from a space of wanting to decentralize it and allow us as individuals all over the planet to be able to participate in putting together this peer-to-peer network. Well, peer-to-peer just means that the ability is there for somebody to add a new node on the network. And a node in this case is what they call these Helium hotspots. So this whole system is designed around this LongFi network through the Helium hotspot. And the folks over at Helium decided to get our engagement assisting in this process. Hold on one sec. So assisting in this process by allowing people to get one of these hotspots and essentially incentivizing us by building their own cryptocurrency blockchain and token by the name of the company Helium, and allowing us to participate in doing this and adding one of these Helium hotspot nodes. So I want to go ahead and share a quick video that gives you a little bit more information about iHub and, more importantly, about this Internet of Things.
Do you know who owns your wireless network? Most likely, some ginormous big brand tech company with stacks and stacks of moolah. Well, what if you were able to own part of a similar network, which is growing constantly every day? It's called the Internet of Things, or IoT network. Heard of it? It powers billions of all those helpful things like our beautiful smart devices, life-saving medical sensors, security monitors, remote tracking devices, and the list goes on. So now you know you could help power all that and get paid for it in Helium, which is a form of cryptocurrency. You know the digital currency that's super secure because it's kept in an online fortress of solitude called blockchain technology? But you might have known that. And all that happens from this one little device called a Helium hotspot you can get from iHub Global. All you do is plug it in and start earning or mining helium automatically, which goes directly into your account. Simple as that. You basically earn money by doing practically nothing, so you can afford to spend more time with who's important to you. Earnings vary based on where you live, and iHub will show you simple ways to track how much you earn every day. You can also bring in your family and friends to earn more as an affiliate. And they'll earn too while we build the biggest network in the world together. And eventually, your earnings go even higher and higher with our shared hosting plan. Okay, then why iHub Global, you ask? Because it's free to start. Our mission is growing the network by more of us owning the network. We'll do it together with simple training on the basics. We'll also show you simple earning strategies to grow. By using our proprietary app called Helium Track, you can track your hotspots and run virtual simulations to place free hotspots in the best locations to further expand your network of affiliates and earnings. Who knew owning this network could be so easy? So if you're ready, let's grow together with iHub Global. Join and request.
Oops, sorry. Oh, well. So
Do you know who?
All right. So what is the business community thinking about this particular project? I mean, after all, this is kind of an audacious idea of building this peer-to-peer network around the world. Well, Time Magazine wrote this article when they first started taking orders for these units. They started getting delivered in December of 2019, but they started taking orders in the summer. And the Times article considered it one of the best inventions of the year, and they likened it to a miniature cell tower. Not that this has anything to do with cell phones or cell towers, but what they were referring to is this was a new opportunity to build a new worldwide infrastructure that could provide a tremendous opportunity for people to gain residual income by participating in building the structure, very similar to what happened with the cell phone towers that were required back, decades ago while that was being put in place. And then in the cryptocurrency world, Decrypt Magazine wrote their first article once Helium decided to flip the switch and allow IoT data to start going over the network. And in the business community, Fortune Magazine talks about how major companies like Nestle and Lime Scooter are already migrating to the Helium network to get their IoT data to the internet. So what's really in it for us to participate in doing it? Well, at the end of the day, it's all about being able to receive Helium tokens from these devices by adding one of these devices onto the network and allowing IoT devices within proximity to where we are, within about a mile or so of where we are, to use our device as the way of them getting their encrypted IoT data up to the internet. And for doing that, we're able to earn Helium tokens. Now, the amount of those Helium tokens is going to depend on the number of devices in the area, where at least having 3 devices within proximity of a kilometer or so of each other really kind of gets the ball rolling. And then it just sort of adds on from there as more devices are in the area to do what they call their proof of coverage algorithm that is based on what this whole Helium process is all about. Now, it's only been about a year that these Helium tokens has been able to be converted into cash from being a cryptocurrency token. And when that happened, this company, Pick a Crypto, did a full analysis of the Helium business model. They were so impressed with it that they thought that the value of the token could actually exceed $5 before the end of the year. And bear in mind that the token only came out in like June of 2020 at around 25 cents. And they thought by the end of 2020, barely 6 months, that it could get into that $5 range. That's kind of a wild concept in the world of cryptocurrency. But it did hit a little over $4 in late September, so they weren't that far off of the mark. But more importantly, they're projecting that between now and 2025, that the price of the Helium token could be in that $40 to $80 range. Now, there's people that are projecting that it could be looking at that $40 range even by the end of this year. Well, where's it currently? It's about $19. So it is definitely moving in that right direction. So Helium got its whole basis by looking at the Internet of Things arena and deciding to put together this worldwide peer-to-peer network. When we evaluated the business model of Helium, we saw also that there was a very powerful opportunity to put together an affiliate program to accelerate the awareness, the education, and training of people of how to participate in putting these Helium hotspots into their locations as part of building this worldwide network. And in order to accomplish what we aspired to do, we wanted to see if it was possible to take the earnings, the amount of Helium tokens that a particular hotspot would generate in a period of time, let's just say a calendar month, and be able to distribute those Helium tokens through a commission structure in our affiliate model. And to do that, we reached out to the largest worldwide supplier of Helium hotspots authorized by Helium, a company called CalChip Connect. We got together with them. We shared with them what our vision was. And we were able, through them and some of their contacts and partners, to put together devices that were uniquely designed to be able to accomplish our goal. So we like to think of these things as a passive income generator, completely independent of what's going on in the pandemic or even the world economy. We're not an MLM company. We're an affiliate program, but with a very powerful affiliate commission structure. There's no recruiting required, but as you start to recognize the extraordinary opportunity that we have to bring together people to be aware of building this peer-to-peer network around the world, and what our model is able to portend as a result of that, then you'll recognize the power of why so many people are involved in doing this. So there's no monthly fees. When you get this thing and you plug it into your power, unlike a Bitcoin miner that uses a tremendous amount of electricity, this uses only about 5 watts of energy, like a 5-watt LED light bulb. So it's less than $1 a month in electricity. And then you hook it up to your own internet connection. It uses a small amount of the bandwidth of that. And then these devices are very secure. They're very designed for privacy. And so you hook it up, it connects to the internet, it syncs with the Helium blockchain and starts generating Helium tokens 24/7, 365 days a year. So I want to just very lightly touch on our affiliate model, just so that you got some context, because I want to show you a couple of actual units and show you what they're producing. So you'll get a sense of what those numbers relate to potentially your involvement in with working with iHub as an affiliate. So for a long time, I've been referring to this J. Paul Getty quote, where he mentioned that he'd rather have 1% of the efforts of 100 people rather than 100% of his own. Simply put, he understood the power of leverage. Well, my partner, Chuck, kind of re-engineered that for iHub. He said that he'd rather have 5, 10, 15% or more of hundreds or even thousands of hotspots rather than only being able to get 100% of his own hotspot. And the numbers definitely were in the favor of doing that. So I want to just give you a light sense of how our affiliate model works. So if you choose to start building a team with iHub Global, know a couple of points here. Number one, there's no cost involved in becoming an affiliate. Number two, our model is to provide units for ideal locations based on the evaluation with our Helium Track software, and then we deploy to those locations. And people are able to host those units and receive a percentage of what those units are creating. Now, for this example, I'm going to use the assumption that each one of these Helium hotspots is generating 50 Helium tokens on a monthly basis. And as you start to share this with individuals and relate to them about iHub, learn a little bit about whether it's through one of these presentations or a recording or sending them what we call a mining assessment through our Helium Track software, the first 5 people that you bring in as part of your iHub team that get deployed units would be what we call your first team. The first 5 is your first team. You're building 4 separate discrete teams. The second team would be the next 10. The third team would be the next 10. And the fourth team is anything after that initial 25 people or businesses that you brought in that have those units. And so how does this actually play out? Well, on that first team, you could have up to 20% of what those units are generating. So again, if they're generating 50 Helium tokens, you'd be able to get 20% of those 50 Helium tokens. On that second team, it's an additional 5% through a very powerful coded bonus that I'll lightly touch on. That third team has 2 of those 5% coded bonuses. The fourth team has 3 of those 5% coded bonuses. So let's kind of put this in perspective. So if you've got 5 people on the first team, if they each have units generating 50 tokens, 20% of that would be 50 Helium tokens that you'd be receiving. If on your second team, there's 10, and that would be able to generate 125 to you. On the third, there's 10, that would generate 150. And even though you can have an unlimited number of people on your fourth team, let's just say that there's 10 to keep the numbers consistent. That would be able to be 175 Helium tokens coming to you. That all told, that would generate 500 Helium tokens. Now, let us put this in perspective. We're talking about you being able to enroll in iHub for no cost, reaching out to people and having them be able to get units essentially for no cost. There's a nominal shipping and processing fee, but other than that, essentially people being able to participate this at no cost, and that everybody being able to earn Helium tokens for participating in this. So if you were to reach out to 35 people in this instance and make this happen, you'd be getting 500 Helium tokens a month. Well, what does that actually represent? Well, right now, at helium being $19 a token, that would represent essentially $9,500, $9,500 US on a monthly basis that you would be able to get. And if you look at that annually, you're looking at over $114,000 a year. But bear in mind what I said about the potential of that helium token increasing in value even by the end of this year. And so this is a process that is totally extraordinary in what's possible. Again, this is just based on your personal activity of working with these 35 people. But what happens is those 35 people that you shared this, that joined you in iHub, they can choose also to start sharing this themselves if they want to. And that 5% code that I mentioned can actually drive down into significant portions of the types of activities that they generate and bring you astronomical numbers that would add to what you're able to do personally in this regard. So what I want to do is look at some actual units right now. Now, every single helium hotspot is connected to the Helium blockchain, and that includes our proprietarily programmed iHub miners. Excuse me a sec. And so because of that, they're all completely transparent. So what I want to do is I want to look at some of those. Let me stop sharing this screen and share a screen where we're going to look at a program that is plotting all the units that have been deployed out there onto a worldwide map. Now it's showing that there's essentially 128,000 units that have been deployed since December of 2019, less than 2 years. When we started looking at this a year ago, it was only a little bit more than 6,000 units. And all of those 6,000 units were in the US and Canada, except for a couple dozen of them as test units spread out around the world. And then in the fall of 2020, they opened up to start shipping units over into the UK and Europe. And then other than China over the last 3 months where there's been deployment of units there really hasn't been any major deployment that we've had to other countries, not because the demand isn't there, but because of the limitation in global supply chain. They're controlling where they want to start rolling out units.
Sorry, Michael, muted.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So there's already quite a bit of activity there that we're going to be starting to fulfill units over in Australia very soon. So where we are right now, though, is a drop in the bucket compared to where we need to be. Just for the US alone, it's going to take some 3 million units. We're looking at tens of millions of units to cover all the cities around the world, which is the goal of iHub. And I believe that all is going to be accomplished in a period of 3 to 4 years from today. So we are definitely in the right place at the right time. And I can assure you that iHub is becoming one of the most significant players in this space of getting these deployments around the world. So I want to go ahead and look at a couple specific situations so that we can talk about actual numbers here. And I want to start off in a place called Vero Beach, Florida. And you can, as you see, you can zoom in on that map to any individual location. Well, we're zoomed in now on Vero Beach, Florida. Why Vero Beach? Well, first off, our CEO, Rick Cotton, lives in Vero Beach, Florida. And there was not a single unit there 5 months ago when we started putting this together and rolling it out. And so what he wanted to do was come up with a method of starting to develop an area that we could all learn from and deploy as we start taking these out around the rest of the world. And he did that by essentially getting 10 units. Really started with 6, what he calls a 6-pack. It evolved to 10. But essentially, the way this works is unlike a Bitcoin miner where you can have a whole warehouse full of these things. These are designed only to have one unit in a location. In fact, they really need to be separated from each other by at least 300 meters, around 1,000 feet or so. So what he needed to do was he had one for himself, and he needed to find 5 or eventually 9 other people that were willing to become a host for that unit, which is now what our whole model is all about, finding people that are willing to host those units. So in that case, what he did was he deployed a marketing strategy to find those people. It was very easy for him to do that. And that's some of the stuff that we benefit by. But he found a group of people, and it started off with 6 and then 10 units in Vero Beach. And that has grown over the last 3 months or so, though, but somewhere around 240 units. I don't know the precise number of it, because those people that were hosts started appreciating what this was all about and also sharing it with additional people. And that viral activity is precisely what happens in building areas around the world with iHub. Now, his unit is called the Trendy Tan Duck. Every unit's got a nice kind of fun three-word name, 2 adjectives, the name of an animal. That's represented by this white dot here. These gold dots with the lines going to them, they're representing units that his unit is witnessing their activities on the blockchain, and it's witnessing through this long phi radio connectivity. And that's why, you're able to connect with certain amount of units within a mile or even up to 10 miles or so from where you are, based on the ground conditions. Now, this unit is generated over the last 7 days 12.3 helium tokens at today's pricing, about $233 worth of helium US. So what would that represent for you if you were an iHub affiliate? You reached out to somebody, in this case, this person in Vero Beach, they got a unit, and over the last 7 days, it generated $233 worth of helium. How would that impact you? Well, you'd have the ability of getting up to 20% of that. So 20% of 233 is $46.6. If we multiply that times 4 to just give us 28 days, rounded off, that's $186, rounded off to say $200 for a full month, that you're getting not just one time thank you for bringing this person to the table, but this is an ongoing residual that you're getting week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, for making that connection, simply reaching out, having somebody learn about iHub Global and having them plug in and getting a unit and taking it from there. Now, what if that's in your first 5 people, your first team? But what if you've been doing this for a little bit, and by the time you reached out to Rick, he was your 26th person, somebody beginning your 4th team, you'd be able to get 35% of that $233. And if you multiply that times 4, it's $326, which you're probably looking at about $350 on a monthly basis of what that would be generating for you for making that same transaction of sharing this with iHub. But what about the guy in Vero Beach themselves? They're able to get 25% of that $233, and that represents for them about $250 on a monthly period for just plugging this thing in, using $1 or less of electricity, hooking it up to their existing internet connection, and pretty much setting and forgetting it, and being able to earn a residual income going on. But what happens when the value of helium goes up significantly? If it gets to that $40 range, we're talking about doubling all of these numbers. So that gives you an idea of what's possible here. Let's take a look at a couple of other units. This is one over in the London area. It's called the Precise Ceramic Boa. This unit is generated over the last 7 days, $352 US in helium that was generated. If that was somebody that was in your first team, you could be getting 20% of that 300. That would be giving you over $300 a month on that particular location. If it was in your 4th team at 35% times 352, you're looking at probably somewhere around $450 a month that you'd be earning at today's helium prices for doing that. Let's take a look at one last one. This is also in the London area. This is the Shallow Walnut Yak. This unit generated $851 of activity in the last 7 days. Sorry about the landscaping noise going on out there. So what would that be at 20% of 851? That's basically that's going to be around $700 a month. If it was on your 4th team at 35% of 851, that's going to be somewhere around $1,250 a month that you get on that. Now, what's up with these higher numbers? These are really outliers when we're considering that we're looking at the average being 50 a month. In this case, we're looking at 45 a week. So it's like almost 4 times the average. Well, it's probably a couple of reasons. The most important is that this unit is at a high elevation. If you look here, we're looking at this 10-kilometer range. You can see that we're probably 30 kilometers plus, in some of these larger activities. So that means that this thing is at a high elevation, and a radio line of sight gives you a farther reach. And so this unit is able to reach out for a larger area. So I think you're kind of getting a sense of the possibilities here, and just going out and availing yourself of becoming a free iHub affiliate, sharing this with other individuals, the kind of power that's financial power that's possible with doing that. So if you're looking at this for the first time, or even the first few times, you may be struggling with trying to understand all the technical concepts here. How do these things work? What's long fi, what's cryptocurrency, what's blockchain, what's Internet of Things, all these different technical aspects. And I went through that same struggle before I could even dream of being able to talk about this with people. But here's the bottom line. You don't need to do that. I mean, it's great if you want to. There's a lot of information out there to help you get all that information, but you can just share this information with people just by inviting them to a presentation like this, or sending them a link to a previous recording. We have a lot of information out there that can get the point across to people. But when it comes to these units, it's really simple. You hook it up to your power, you hook it up to the internet, maybe determining what's the best window to place it in, or maybe getting a better higher power antenna for it than the one that comes with it. But after that, it's pretty much set it and forget it, and it just generates helium essentially without much intervention on your own case. So I want to go ahead and just sort of close this out by putting this in perspective. We are where we are in life today directly as a result of the actions that we've taken on the decisions we've made in our lives up until this point. If we want to experience a change, particularly in our finances, we simply need to make a new decision and take action on it. I definitely believe that this is the biggest financial opportunity to participate in my 40 plus years as an entrepreneur. And I believe that to be true. It's reinforced by all the other individuals that really take the time to understand this. People that are, in many cases, way more successful than myself. They also see the same thing. And this is drawing a quality of people unlike anything I've ever experienced in 40 years. So we talk about 3 to 5 years to get this network completed. I think more realistically, it's going to be 2 to 3 years as a result of the tremendous spheres of influence of the people getting involved in doing this. But get your questions answered. Go ahead and sign up in iHub. Take advantage of this opportunity. Don't let it pass you by, because this isn't a long-term endeavor. We're talking about doing this for 3-4 years, building the network, and then being able to receive the residuals for the effort that we've done over that 3-4 year period for decades and decades to come. So again, with that, get back to whoever invited you to this presentation. Now, just a couple of quick points. Number one, we do these presentations Monday, Tuesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. UK time, noon US time, Pacific time. Okay. On Wednesday, at that same time, we do a training and questions and answers. On Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. UK time, we do a presentation similar to this as well. So 5 days during the week, we've got a presentation or training. Plug into that schedule. You're welcome to invite people all over the world that can make it on these different time zone change when these presentations are available. Get your questions answered on Wednesdays. We also have corporate presentations we do. If you're registered in iHub, just on your dashboard, just scroll down a little bit and you'll see the schedule and the ability to reserve or to register for the corporate webinars. So with that, I want to thank you for taking a look at iHub. get together with the people that invited you here, get yourself started in this enormous opportunity. We are moving into dramatic momentum. And I can tell you from 40 years that momentum is something that is not typical. It's very rare. And when you're in momentum, it's almost like everything is just flowing, and it's very, very simple to make things happen. So take advantage of that. And I want to again thank you, get back together the person that invited you, and welcome to iHub Global.